In this video, we'll talk about the functions in 2 or 3 variables. We will find the domain for the functions, and we will also graph a few level curves. So let's talk about the first example. Find the domain of the function f of x y equals 2xy minus 3x plus 4y. And we notice that we can give any values to x and any value to y. It's going to give us a real number. So there is no values that will create restrictions. So the domain is going to be R2 because x is in R and y is in R. Find the domain of the function f of xy equals square root of 25 minus x squared minus y squared. We know that the numbers or the expressions under the radical have to be greater than or equal to 0 so that we can calculate the square root in real numbers. So this gives us the equation, the inequality 25 minus x squared minus y squared greater than or equal to 0, which means negative x squared minus y squared greater than or equal to negative 25, which if we multiply by negative 1 gives us x squared plus y squared less than or equal to 25. Now this graph or this inequality, what it actually means is the disk this is what it means. So the domain of the function is the disk with center at the origin and so center 0, 0 and radius 5. But again, it's a disk, right? So if I draw this is a circle. It's empty. The disk involves all the points, right? Because if I choose a coordinate from here 1 1, for example, if we replace it here, we get 2 square less than or equal to 25, which is true. So all these points from here, including the ones on the circle, are are points in our domain. Let's solve another problem. Find the domain of the function f of xy equals ln of x squared minus y. So let's set the condition x squared minus y strictly greater than 0 because ln of 0 doesn't exist. So this means negative y greater than negative x squared, y less than x squared. So we know that y equals x squared is a parabola centered at the origin, right? So this would be y equals x squared. Now we have to decide, we have two regions. We have the inside and we have the outside. So we have to decide which one we shade. So let's pick a number. Let's pick 7, 0, for example. So that's x equals 7 and y equals 0. What does that mean in terms of our inequality? It means 0 less than 49, which is true. So the point 7, 0 is this one, and it satisfies the inequality. That means the solution is, or the domain, it's all these points outside our parabola and is not including the parabola. So I'm going to dash this point, this line, just to reinforce the fact that the points on the line are not included. So the domain is the region outside the parabola y equals x squared. Let's take a look at function in 3 variables. So find the domain of f of x, y, z, where we have x squared plus y squared plus z squared minus 9 is greater than or equal to 0. So x squared plus y squared plus z squared greater than or equal to 9, which actually means it's a sphere with a center 0, 0, 0, and radius 3. So if the sphere, maybe I should specify this, x squared plus y squared plus z squared equals 9 is the description of the sphere centered at the origin and with radius 3. So basically the domain, so let's make a sphere here, and so the domain is everything that is greater than that, so it means it's all the region outside the sphere. So this would be the domain. Outside the sphere. And now let's solve one more problem. Graph several level curves of z equals x squared over y plus y squared over 4. Now level curves are curves in the xy plane. So this z can vary. So let's say z equals 1. It means x squared over 9 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. This is an ellipsis or an ellipse where a is 3 and b is 4. So if we draw x, so y, a it's 1, 2, 3, negative 3, and 1, 2, 1, 2. So the level curve that we wanted to draw for this one is this. If z equals 2, for example, then we have x squared over 9 plus y squared over 4 equals 2. So if we divide everything by 2, we get x squared over 9 divided by 2, which means x squared over 9 times 1 over 2, it's x squared over 18, plus y squared over 8 equals 1. So this time we still have an ellipse with a squared equals 18, which means a equals square root of 18, which means 3 square root of 2. And b squared equals 8, which means b equals 2 square root of 2. My square root of 8, which is 2 square root of 2. So 3 square root of 2, this is approximately 3 times 1.4, so it's 4.2, so it would be somewhere here. And so this one is the negative, and 2 square root of 2 is more than the 2 here. So the other level curve is given by this graph. And so on, like if z equals 3, then we have x squared over 9 plus y squared over 4 equals 3. We divide everything by 3 and we get x squared over 27 plus y squared over 12 equals 1. Again, an ellipsis where a equals 3 square root of 3 and b equals 2 square root of 3. So the next values, so 3 square root of 3 would be 3 times 1.7, so it would be 5.1. So this would be 3 square root of 3, this would be negative, and then 2 square root of 3, negative 2 square root of 3. So this would be another level curve.